So I had saying this, and she had painted it partly in class, and so again, I just changed things that I thought would make it just slightly better, and that you don't have to. But Carol's a very competent painter. She knows how to paint. I think she just, when I look at the dress, the first thing I saw was that dress, and I thought, like, boy, that seemed kind of like overworked, or it was like something in the lower part. And actually, I can use this pointer. So see this right here? This is the begin. It's always a left person is the original, and then this is what I had done. I just took out all the it seemed like a line in there. I didn't know what that was, and it just seemed like not good. So I took that out and I just put it out there. And also I threw a shadow underneath her under her feet. So I felt that it grounded them better and bring them together. And so there's not much. The technical aspect of it is she's really good with her watercolor and how she applied it. I think those are just two things that on this one that would have been better. I think you can probably still do that. You could scrub out that dress and actually use, and I'm not into not using white. I use white. And what you can do is you can put a layer of water down and just put your white right on top of it and let it float. Now you always got to remember, don't use it like gouache. It's got to act like watercolor. Always remember, any opaque watercolor can be used like watercolor, and it would even get into TWSA. I got a couple pieces in the TWSA with colors that were very pastel, and so you just have to make it look like a watercolor. And how you do that? You put down the water first, and then apply it into a puddle of water, and just let it lay, because it's still transparent, even though it's opaque color. So that's what I would do for Carol. I'm not sure if Carol's there.
I'm here. Thank you, Dave.
No problem. All right, next we got Laura Eaton. Is Laura Eaton there? Nope. Okay. Well, so a lot of people do, and a lot of beginners, and I'm not sure if Laura's a beginner or not, but this scene is a great stage for something. And I always tell my students, it's like, we are doing a stage, but then we need some actors. And I saw like the little post in the water coming up, and there's a line right through the middle of this, almost through the middle of the painting, that needs to be erected. I think it's just compositionally, it would need like an actor. Maybe it's a canoe, is it a person in the front? And then I just took her what she had, and I'm thinking, just let's say I didn't want to put anything in. Then I was thinking, well, maybe I need, all this stuff is on the right, and it's kind of there, but it's not. You're making a triangle on the right, and triangles in corners are not good, because then you just look at that. And then even the post there, maybe a pier going out into there and a guy fishing off of it or something. People really enhance the painting a lot of times if you look. Though that you don't always need a person, but I think by cutting this in half like that, and you notice that I dulled it down, I blurred it. I also blurred it, so on the left, it's very distinct, the water, and I thought, well, if I blur that, maybe that'll eliminate, but it kind of didn't eliminate the line going across. So I would do something in the fact that I would let something cross over that line that cuts the painting in half. Something. And I added, and she had this, I also wanted a foreground and a background, and I think by putting the leaves and making them darker, she had them there, but they look like they're part of the background. And so I made the pattern more that there's leaves in the upper left corner to bring it forward so that you see the foreground, middle ground, background. You get dimension, distance.
David?
Yes.
That black line that cuts through the painting, if they just make that more irregular.
Too, maybe irregular, or make it on the side, yeah.
Have some of them coming pretty far down into the water.
And actually, I talk about all this stuff, but the first thing I always look at is how well you do the watercolor. That's the first thing I look at, and it's really well done. I mean, she knows how to handle watercolor really well. So that's the first thing I look for. These are just very parts of composition. She's still a great watercolorist. This composition isn't that great though. And I would have liked to see those other things in there. I always like to show the good part of a painting too. The fact that, and that's the big part. I mean, the fact that you know how to do a watercolor is number one. And so I can tell that she knows how to do a watercolor really well. She puts it down and leaves it. All right, so next we have Tammy. Tammy, you got your piece here? Nope. Okay. So Tammy, I saw this one when she was doing it, And it was really nice. I thought, man, this would be like a great Christmas card too. And stuff, but I saw it and I think, boy, what? This is really good. I thought, what would I do to change something in this picture? And then I just noticed that it's like, that head of his is riding really close to tangent to the background ground. And so I just brought that down a little bit and made it so they cross over a little bit better. So you can see in left or right, I just brought it down just slightly. And then also I made the trees in the back just more important on the left where the house is. That's it. Just a one simple thing to overlap, to again, get dimension. We're all working about dimension. Actually, the composition is great. You have I love the background being that blurred and the low key and stuff. And the drawing is great. And the handling of the pigment is great. So it's just one little thing. Again, composition. Composition is so important in the end. When you get all this stuff, when you get past and you're a student and you get past how to use the pigment, that's when you start going into looking at good composition. And then it becomes very important. And then also you want to make a composition that is you. You gotta get to the point where every time you see the painting and you'll say, oh, that's a Tammy Bowser, and that's you want your paintings all to have the same kind of composition, same kind of look, same kind of scenes. Look at the people that are winning all the awards. Exactly those people are. You see a John Selman and right away that that's a John Selman. And it's all his compositions are always the city scene. It's always the same kind of technique, so that's what you gotta get. You gotta get the point and do a bunch of them. Like do a whole series of people. Actually, no. Anyways, but that's the only thing. It's like one little thing. It's amazing how one little thing can make it just a little bit more distance. And you gotta watch out for tangents. Tangents are really important to get rid of. You don't want things in the corner. You don't want things tangent to make it flat. Otherwise, they'll flatten it. If you guys got questions too, let me know. Just ask them.
Notice you darkened the soul of his view.
Yeah. Yeah, I just made it. I made it so that it looked like a little bit unfinished. Like I was underneath his foot. It looked like you didn't get in there and do the bottom of his foot. Next, we have Patricia. She's not here, right? No. Patricia King. Pet King. So I really like this scene a lot because I just did one like this for my first that I came along. I did a kayaker, and I thought, wow, perfect timing. So what did I do here? It was really good. I mean, it's not much to do, but I thought I had to do something. I had to do something for every piece, and sometimes it was such a small thing too. But a lot of times I noticed that too. I like things being cropped a little bit more. I don't like negative space that doesn't mean anything. So I just went in a little bit because if it's about the kayaker, I thought bring him up a little bit, bring him forward a little bit, make him more important, and which is okay because I like your side, but I think the most thing was that line across the middle again. Why cut your painting in half like that? Just even though the picture may have been like that, just darken that a little bit and you're fine. And you don't have to crop in. That's my personal taste. Is I like to see it for, but it's just as good on the left. But I think if you taken that that line, the white line out of there, it just would just bring it back. Because that should be back. That should be the distance. And why bring anytime you have contrast, it's going to bring it up. Your eye's going to go up. So that all she had to do was just do that darker and you're fine. It's a really fine painting. And again, I like it a little bit closer, and that's just a personal taste. It works both ways. It really does work both ways, but I like things up close. Yeah, and actually, again, Pat really knows how to use watercolor. I mean, she's really good at using the watercolor. So you're getting into composition again. And that's pretty good when you're that good an artist and all it is about a composition. Because then it's the picture you use or we got Lori Vellis. Again, same thing. I really liked it a lot, but I thought there's a lot of negative space. And so I'm thinking, like, look at all this space right here, all this edge, and it's kind of vignetted. And I'm not really into vignetting that much, but I mean, it's okay. You can vignette it. I just like to bring it up and see the crane or heron. So I like to see the heron more. I want to see if it's about the heron, bring it up. bring it up a little bit closer to you. And I think it gave it a better composition too. And it's not more of a vignette because she did more of a vignette. It's fine, you know, and that's basically all. I mean, actually, it's really well done. Really well done.
Looks like the herring could be more to the left.
It's a great egret. This is Carrie. It's a great egret.
But he looks like he's about to lunge, but there's not much room for him to lunge into.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And if he was backed up just a little bit, I think it'd make a better composition because he's not quite so centered.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. I have to play around.
And see, and when you think about it, all the medium again was done, you know, used very well. And this is more of a preference, like your preference is you like it this way. I like it closer up. They're all good. It's just kind of a preference, but again, I want to do something to show, and there's nothing really anything wrong with it. So it's just the preference of some people liking it close up, some people like farther away, some people like vignette. So good job, Lori. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Beth. Yeah, bring it up. So I saw this, Beth had it out, she brought it to class one day and I saw it, and as I was looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, you know, we gotta simplify things, and people who do palm trees always do this. They make the palm trees so detailed because they have those fronds, and so you want to put every one of them in there.
That good?
So what I did is I just simplified the fronds. Front, right? Front? Fronds. And so I just simplified them, and I should have, look at the Winslow Homer. Just look at all the ones he did in Bermuda, and you'll see that he doesn't ever do individual things. And I think that's the only thing about this, is that it was so complicated with all those little fronds and the palm trees, which is, I probably could have done even more. Because then you put the look on the person and his cotton candy. You know, then it would have been more on him. And that's what you want, and you want him. And also darken it, because if you squint your eye, the pattern is all the same values. And so what I did is I upped the lighting. And so I made the wall darker. So I made it so it's from the back. So I made it from the lights coming from the back. And so I just put the wall in the shadow, put him in the shadow. The drawing of his legs seemed a little bit like his legs were broken. So
He's really well though.
Short, yeah, maybe that's just the guy though.
yeah, it could have been the guy, but you never paint odd. Always, you know, when you're painting odd things, you have to fix them so they don't look odd. You know, I was always told by my teacher, Uri Shapiro, that if you're painting, let's say, a tree that grew around the fence, then you don't paint it like that, because it's like nobody's gonna know why is that tree painted around the fence.
It's the focal point.
Yeah, that's the focal point. It's gonna be weird that you're going with the tree around the fence post or something.
That really increased the contrast and makes that cotton candy pop. Yeah.
See, it was big value pattern. That's a big thing, is the value pattern. And then there's the shadow off the street.
Well, my big concern was I thought there's too much paint in it. Yeah.
No, the pink is fine. The colors, I always, color, I think to me is like the last thing I always think about, because if you have the right value pattern, you can put any color in. And by Carol Carter, I always go to Carol Carter and thinking she never uses the color that the actual object is. It's always different. And so I figure that alone, the color is whatever. As long as you have the values right, and also the amount of detail you have compared to the amount, because in the left, the palm trees are really detailed, you know, and so that is oversees the guy even more. So they're really well. So that's the background. So push them together. Okay, Mary. Now Mary's picture she sent, it was very blurry. And so you there, Mary? Nope. Okay. So she sent me this image, and it was, I did a little bit both on both of them. I kind of upped the contrast a little bit. But that's the only, I couldn't think of it. There was really nothing, but I almost kind of liked it blurry and suspect, because I'm thinking in real life, I would have liked to seen it. I'm sure it was more detailed, but I'm thinking, boy, I kind of like some of the blurriness that she had gotten in the blurry picture. So all I did was up the contrast, but then I left the parts that I think were blurry, should have been blurry. Like the water, all the water should have been blurry, and then the boat be thing, so. And I'm sure it wasn't, because I can see hard edges there, but because the whole picture was blurry. I just upped the contrast of the boat and made it a little bit tighter there, and so I'm thinking that's the way it should look. The blurriness, but I know it wasn't, so I just think she needs to blurry out some things, and a lot of people don't realize, and we're not taught that. A lot of people in class are not taught to do wet in the wet and do things blurry. Because blurry means fuzzy, and blurry means wet in the wet, like where you get soft edges. So not many artists do soft edges, watercolorists, because it's harder. And but the water would have been great, like in the front, if it was a soft edge, like her blurry picture was. So I left it that way, and I upped the boat, because then that would be in focus. Like photographers use that all the time, and so why, we can use as artists do the same thing. Get things out of focus. All right, Tom. You get yours up there. Tom Bartlett. Now I'm looking at this original.
Yeah, I had hard edges on everything and David told me to soften the edges, so that was my major.
I'm gonna get in front of this too. Because now that I look at it in a frame, it's amazing the difference between looking at original and looking at something on a photograph. Because this doesn't bother me as much as it did in here, because look at the light, see this area around? It's so light in the photograph,
Oh, yeah.
and to me, that was just too light, and it made it like, again, a vignette. And so what did I do again? I upped it, and so I got rid of all that stuff, like, this edge right.
Yeah.
So this edge right here, this whole edge right there, and all the back in the photograph looks really light. And those of you here seeing an original, you can see that it's not that light. And so it's not, that doesn't bother me as much in the actual original. But what I thought to do was, though, focus on the monkey as your center of interest, because the boy is not the center of interest. The monkey is. And so sync him up.
That's on my knees.
Okay. And so you see, I also blurred his face and I pushed it back, like, because you have it just as light on the face side, see? So that he is just as far in front, but I want to make him the secondary, or her the secondary. So I want to make her push back. And also on his hand, it seemed like the knuckles were really a little dark, and so I lightened that a little bit, just so I push her face back, make her the secondary interest, and make the monkey, because he's funny, he's cute, and he's right up front, so let him be up front. And I like to crop it a little bit so that you also have the hip of the monkey, and that looks like almost part of his ear, or it looks a little bit hard edge. So again, blur it off. You don't need to see the back of the monkey. You let him go in the back. You don't need to have her hair so high. It's all about him. So let everything else be blurry. Let it be
I
blurry.
sure the original photograph was talking about cropping. I cropped it way down from this.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
And then,
Show them.
and then I added a different view of the monkey. That's my monkey, her view.
Wow.
I had it in college 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's really small.
Yes.
So that's just some cropping, but yeah, I got your point.
So again, always think about dimension of what's your center of interest, what's your secondary interest. There's always this main center of interest. It's not I like to say it's an area, because it's not always an object. Sometimes it's an area. So just think of it as an area, and then go away from that, and then find your secondary interest, which is her, but she shouldn't be as interesting as the monkey. I think to see what everybody does. Here's Megan. Megan, great job on this. And there was almost nothing I could do to this to make it better. I found one spot. I'm not sure if you can find it. There's one spot that I did. Everything else was great. There was one spot I didn't like. Can you tell?
I can't find it.
It's right here. Hold on. It's right here. This spot right there.
Okay,
That dark-
okay.
That dark right there, I just didn't like that hard edge right there because it's in the background. And so why would that come forward?
Okay,
And so I just pushed that back and that was it. Everything else is awesome.
okay.
That was one little spot. You can rub that out because, and I also added a little, you see, I added a little bit of flowery stuff in front of it. Because it's the background flower, I
Okay.
think. And so
Yeah.
that was one little hard edge I didn't like, and that's pretty sad that I had to look for that hard, that long for something. I kept
Well,
on
this,
looking.
this
I'm like,
was a painting I had kind of like put aside, thinking it wasn't going to work out, but then I came back to it like 5 months later and finished it. But
Wow. Beautiful.
very nice. It's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely gorgeous. And even if you didn't do that, it wouldn't matter because it'd still be fine.
okay.
It just, I'm always about to mention. I'm about to mention, and if it's, and it, yeah, it doesn't look like a photograph, but it, it doesn't have to. I don't want it to look like a photograph. I like a watercolor, but still, even in a watercolor, there's a background, middle ground, foreground. And if there's something that looks a little bit off and looks like it's not right, that just didn't look right to me. That little hard edge right there,
Okay.
and that was it. Good job, though. It was beautiful. As always, your work is great.
Oh, thank you.
Bill. I really like Bill's work, and it was really nice. And so I didn't do much. I just added the contrast a little more. I just put a little contrast, and I also, if you look right here, if you look at the building that Bill had, it's really nicely drawn and everything about it. But all this was the same value. Everything was the same value, even the little shading. So I just upped the lighting a little bit more. And he had the shadows there, but I think he could have gone just slightly darker by just, and like I put the little shadow right here. And I put this shadow in there. So make that come forward. I made the shadow underneath the eaves and the eaves themselves a little bit darker. And I like to put a little bit of warmth in there too, which I didn't do, but I like to put warmth in the eaves. And here I did that in here. See, I darkened inside because inside, this is inside and you have it as light. And even if it was in the picture, I would still change it because you have to make it look like a better painting, it's not about the photograph. And this, I like the shadow, but this seemed kind of messy. It seemed kind of messy, the whole shadow in front here. And there was so much texture here that was taken away from the texture of the house. I want to see the house texture and see this whole building. And other than that though, and I actually darkened the tree so that the roof would stick out. So I darkened there. And I darkened here a little bit, just again, I liked, and actually I took this away before I liked it more like this. So this area right here, I like that dark better, but I was too far ahead and I couldn't go back to that. So I'm like, damn it. So I was too far steps in the Photoshop. And I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll just tell you that I did like this area. And I just would like to see in the walkway a little bit cleaner. And then you could throw shadows on there, but it has to be done cleaner, I think, so that it doesn't look so textury. And so put the shadow, if you look the shadow on the side of this shadow right here. I put it, so I can put this post can come forward by making a dark around it. And then I threw shadows across the back of the building. And so I would just have it go that way. Where is that?
Called Carlson Cottage. It was originally built in the 1880s as a women's comfort station.
Is that stated, is that? Where you, on the gable, you did the dark side of the gable, down below that, about this, 5 o'clock position, is that part of that roof the same plane as where you had the?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I darkened that too, right?
Yeah, all right, that's,
You're talking about this part right here?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the part to the right, yes. Yeah.
Yep. I probably should have darkened, like, if this should be the same as this. That'd be the same, but
Yeah.
I only had so much time to do it. Good. All right, so here's Noreen. And this one was just almost there. And I'm thinking, boy, I really like this painting a lot. And I was thinking, what really is, there's nothing really wrong with it. Oh,
Whoa.
Don't make me mute you.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Noreen. So I kept
Sure.
thinking,
I'm just watching a Zoom thing, but yeah, I can look at your painting.
oh,
Okay. Bye.
here we go. Okay, yeah. So Doreen's, I liked it a lot. I'm thinking, what can I do? This is the only problem I had in her drawing. And I thought was this tree on the side here. This tree, and I kept on thinking, what is it that I don't like about this tree that goes down? And this line right here, it just this area right here just bugged me. And because it's like there's too many points coming right to this section right here. And I was like, what do I do to make this go away? Because it's a line that goes down. And I'm thinking, you know what? We don't have a really good value pattern. We want a value pattern that is lights and darks. And so I thought, oh, that's what it is. I can just add leaves in front of it and put all these. I can put all these leaves, dark leaves in front, and that suggests then that everything on this side of the bridge is dark and everything behind the bridge is light. And except for these rocks, which is way in the front out of shadow. And then so I also darkened the water because it's going to reflect in the water. And so then you have the whole back, and this is one big value pattern where it's all dark. Because that's what you want in value patterns. You want big areas of light and dark. Big areas of light and dark. And so that's all here it's a lot of light and dark everywhere. But by just darkening that area together as one big area, really holds it together then. And it's not, and she can still do that. I mean, because you have the background lighting, because the background is really super bright and I love it. I mean, I like how way she did it. I love the water. I love everything in the rocks. It's just that there was not a big definite light dark pattern. But great job. And I love the people and everything was really well. Just that one little corner there. I kept on thinking, what is it about that corner I don't like? And so I just messed around with it. This one, I probably spent the most time on this one than any other painting. Because I kept on thinking, what don't I like? Why is it, and I have to go back down to composition. And that's what it's our light and dark pattern. Because you always should make a value sketch, and that's what you work off of. It's all about value pattern. All right, Mike. Mike's got a picture right here. So, thank you.
Is that you in the parachute? Point?
That Mike's been a parachuter for many years.
The third one back.
And really, after looking at it from the original, it's not as I thought in the photograph, because the photograph, this area right here is really, really dark. This part, let me show you. In the photograph, it seemed really dark, and it was kind of like it came forward to it. This is contrasty. And so it really came forward at me. I'm like, oh, I want to push that back. I want to see these beautiful parachutes. And so I just blurred it. I just blurred the background, and it got rid of the contrast, because contrast comes forward. And so I just pushed it back, and that way you see the beautiness of these, and also makes it look like it's in a distance. Otherwise, it looks like it's above the parachute.
So how do you blur it when you're actually painting it? You've done that?
It's wet in the wet. You just do wet in the wet. Yep. You just put down your water and you control your pigment and you just make it blurry. Make it wet in the wet wash. And that's just like a sky. When you're doing a sky, when you do it for a sky, everything's wet and soft edge. Just a soft edge. I wouldn't don't do it to this. This is beautiful. It's actually, so that's just it's again seeing it from a photograph and seeing it original, because it really doesn't seem as bad here. It doesn't seem as dark and contrasty in the original.
Yeah, it was.
Compared to the photograph, because the photograph, you get these really high contrasty areas, because in the photograph, it seemed really dark. And I'm thinking, whoa, that's really coming forward and making it look like those parachutes are right next to the ground. And so it didn't seem like it was going back, or like it was the distance. And then when you blur it, I thought, oh, now it looks like they're coming down. That's a very distance area. A super neat painting, super neat painting. And then we have Renee. And I guess this must have been Growly Mill, because I've been painting at Growly Mill for a long time. It's I think in Hinsdale or something, is it called Growly Mill? And I asked Renee when she came here today and had it, and she goes, I go, is this Growly Mill? That I painted there, I painted this mill a few times, and she goes, yes, it is. And so I could tell where it was, a little bit more abstract. You know, she says it was, how many years ago that you painted this? 59 years ago. All I did is I didn't like that the trees were all trimmed up, like they trimmed the trees, like there's somebody went up there or a lightning bolt hit them. So I just put some of your foliage that you had in the back, I put it in front, and so cover up the thing. And that was it. Everything else is fine.
I love the style.
A very loose style. I just felt like the trees just felt like they were like poor trees. They didn't try and do that.
She was a loose woman that time.
It's something abstract to it.
Very good, Renee.
Do you still paint like this style? No.
Catherine, I couldn't think of anything to do with this because it really was nice. It's nice. It's a beautiful, simple piece. And so I thought, I wonder what happens if I do a background or just give it a light ground it a little bit or something. And even I don't like how I did it. I would maybe make it to the sides. I don't know what I did. It was not very good. But I mean, it's a beautiful painting. It's just really beautiful. I was gonna try to do a really dark background. I'm thinking, nah, it's really loose, it's really airy. And so
Yeah.
and I did pink, I put pink in the background on the top. You know, a little bit, but we really don't need to do that. It's just really pretty. But again, I tried to do something for everybody. Just to see. I want to see myself, you know, and I kept on doing a couple of things. And I'm like, nope, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. So yeah, just sometimes you have to try things. The nice thing about Photoshop is that I can try things with it. And so.
All right. That won't happen.
So like, if you know how to use your Photoshop, but you can go, there's a thing called Photopea. It's like PEA. .com, and you go there, it's like identical to Photoshop, and you can do these things too. So sometimes if you have your own photo, I did to my paintings a lot. I'll go put them in, and like, what is wrong with this thing? You know, I'll put them in Photoshop, and I'll try different things before I actually try them. And so like with Catherine's, I kept on trying things and they didn't work. And like, you know, this piece doesn't need to be changed. Because it's just really beautiful. And so it's like, okay. No, it's just it's a website. And then the thing is, you don't have to sign up for anything. It's for Photopea, but it's called Photo PHOTOPEA. PEA. Yep. Yeah, it's supposed to. I always call it Photopea.com. And it's like you don't have to download anything. You don't have to pay anything. And it's identical to Photoshop. I mean, it acts like Photoshop. How this is still available, I don't understand, but it's really good. And you don't need to have you don't have to download it. It's just basically a website. You know, so you just go there and I use that when I'm on the road a lot.
I did this during class one time. I just,
Really?
yeah, it's just I made it up.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's
thanks. Thanks
it's
a
really
lot,
nice.
David. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Also putting the background in on you, well, how you changed it, kind of like took away from the flowers themselves. The flowers look paler on the.
Yeah. No, I know. It's just, I really tried a bunch of things and I said, I can't improve on this. But I put it in there just to show you that sometimes, you try different things, but no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea to try. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's neat to try something and actually, I just wanted to see because it's like, I'm supposed to critique it, but if something's really good, I wonder if I can make it better.
All right.
But I couldn't make it better. Very nice.
Thank you.
So this one, I just saw the picture back there and the reason, now the photo doesn't look anything like the actual painting. The painting looks awesome. So this is the one thing too, where I looked at the color is so much better here in the photographs or in the actual the actual original is nothing like the photo that I was sent, because that looked very gray, it looked kind of overworked. That doesn't look overworked. I mean, look at the original, and it looks really nice. I love purple, so this is really beautiful. So I did, because I saw this, that's what I saw on the left. And so I thought, well, everything's like kind of the same values, the color very gray on the flower. I thought, let's just up the flower, let's make it brighter. But you have that almost, and actually you probably could do that too, is have it a little bit brighter than the background. And so that the background just is a little bit darker, or the flower is a little bit lighter. Just to bring it out a little bit. It shows you that original, it's always good to see original. You know, when you see even like the catalogs, when you see like these shows and catalogs, go to like right now the TWSA is showing, so go there and see it. It's always so much different than when you see it in the catalog and see the originals. But actually a nice painting. It's really, really nice painting when you see the original.
Water droplets.
Right.
David?
Oh, we can do that, yeah. We can do that. See how many more we got. Let me see how many more we got. Let's go do 2 more and then we can go and. So Dan Billing is not here, but Dan, I don't think he's online. But Dan has been a student of mine. He used to come to my Lizzie Real class and stuff, and he got really, really, he was always really good. He came to when we were back in at the bank. Can you find what I did? There's only one thing I thought I needed to do.
Yeah. The red wall. Orange witnesses.
See what's wrong with it. Want to do. There's a tangent in there that was a tangent that everything flow together. So here's a tangent. Here's a tangent right here. There's a tangent and it doesn't make it look like it goes back. It looks like this is all confusing. All I did was bring that wall forward a little bit. And now it's untangent. Because this line, see this tangent right here? It's the line goes right down there and it hits this front of the wall, which makes it look like it's behind. So it's just a drawing thing, you know, and you always want to overlap and you don't want tangents. And so I just moved that wall forward a little bit by, you know.
Is there another tangent with the third from the left statue?
The third, yeah, kind of. Yeah, but that's where you know, if you have a photograph and it's like that, then you're going to draw like that. But I think if you just do a little bit, you know, shift off a little bit in from your drawing, from your photograph, get rid of those tangents, because that can really eliminate or make your dimensions work wrong. So it's like, and it's such a beautiful painting too, and it's really not that bad. Nobody that's on ours would even know that. But I, as an artist and a teacher, I see those things like right away. Tangents I see right away. And it's like, first when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, I wish he would have just moved over a little bit. Because then that brings it in front and overlaps it and gives it another dimension. Because it kind of looks kind of strange then. And it's almost like a triangle, because even the light right here, the light, see the little light right here, this triangle, even that is all like a star. Then it makes it right to this red point right there. So it's like a pointed star here, then everything points to that area. And so by just overlapping this just a little bit, makes it look like 3-dimensional, a little bit better. And that's being really nitpicky. But you know, I'm here to critique, so it's the only thing I could find. It's the only thing I could find. One more and then we'll go in. So this one's, I see this and two, this is back there. I like the simplicity of this. And all you need is a little shadowing for separate the flowers from the wall in the back, or the fence, or whatever it is. Now let's see the original, because that's always, again, I think it's very light, and so it may be totally different from the original. Which is really weird how that works. Yeah, so that's not as, you know, though I still think you could use some little shadows to take it away from the wall a little bit, or the fence, or whatever it is, and because then you just put a little shadow, and then you can like go back and forth. You see what I did is I took some shadows of the actual stems, and you don't need that many. I put quite a bit in there, maybe just a few, just to, again, show dimension. I'm all about dimension and showing things. And puts a little added flavor to it so that, and then this one I don't like as much as I think this is too much. This one right here, this shadow, it's almost a little bit too much. It's a little bit too heavy. I think just slightly would have been better. But again, I probably put too many go backs. So what I do is when I do these changes, I look at it and then I think, okay, maybe not. And then I'm looking to see what would make something better, or, you know, if something's wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with it. It just needs, I'm thinking, what can I do to make it a little bit more dimensional? And sometimes I go too far ahead and then I can't come back to that spot where I was at, because you only get so many go back. Because when you do all those lines on there, that's about, 50 lines, and then get back to the one, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But I don't want to erase it, because then I'm gonna have a weird behind it. But nice job though, looks beautiful. Let's take a break. We'll take a break. We're gonna take a break, Zoom, and we're gonna take like a 5-minute break. All right, so we got Angie's here. Again, I want to look at the original because it's still. So again, about wet to hard edges and soft edges, I'm really into that. I'm really into the soft edges, and my students know I'm really into wet into wet and floating your pigment. That's my big thing, floating your pigment. And so to push something back, it helps you show dimension. And that's all I saw in this. I just saw that I really liked it a lot. I mean, I love the whole scene in front. Now you can tell I didn't do anything to the actual scene itself. In the front, I just would like to push that back because it was coming too far forward for me. I'm like, go back, Or I think I was thinking, do I need the grass? But yeah, I need the grass. I like everything about it, and I thought, oh, I just need to push that back. I just need to have that be like a sky, like where it's soft edge. And again, how do you do that? It's wet in the wet. Learn how to use wet in the wet, where you make things go into the background. Or again, let's say you don't know what something is in a certain picture. You're looking at it, and you're like, what is that? And if it's not your center of interest, just blur it out. And that's what photographers do. They just blur it out, blur out that area. And so how do you do that? You put down water and you work the pigment into the water. Control the pigment so that it gives you a soft edge, or let it just bleed all over. Because that's basically what it is, right? It's like those were clouds back there. It could have been like, if that was a sky, that's how you do clouds, you're doing it wet in the wet. So that's it.
Sit now and make it that way. What? Just wet the thing and.
So what I would do, I would take and I'd wet this area. So you can't just wet a certain part right here. I just take and you have to wet the whole area here, wet all this, and then also rub it a little bit so that it loosens up the paint that's sitting on the top. And then if it's too dark, maybe take out some of that, blot it, but put water back in, because you have to have this area all the same wetness. And then you float some pigment on top of it and it's be soft edge. And actually try that on old paintings. If you want to learn how to fix something, take your old painting that you don't like and try it. Always try things. Don't never just do anything on your, unless you try something, practice, That's come, you never throw away old paintings, and because you always try things on them. And also always have a sheet of paper next to you where you're going to try something before you actually do it to your regular painting. Very nice.
How about between is it the two bottles or glasses upside down? Lighting that, because it looks like a tangent there. The left one especially.
Tangent to what?
The dark background. Oh. Comes right to that top.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, by blurring it though, kind of makes it, blurring it makes it not so hard edge, but you're right. You could just make it darker and don't make it so patterny of light and dark back there. Keep it simplified, simplify, let it push back. It's about the table and the chairs and all that. So the background is not important. The background needs to be pushed away.
Work on the curvature on the right. It's too flat.
Yeah. But it's so loose. It's such a nice loose thing that to me doesn't bother me as much, because it's very loose and because the chair, like even the chairs are kind of like nicely loosely done. Where if you're doing a photograph and making a hyperrealism, then that would not work, because you need to make it exact. If you're doing hyperrealism and look like a photograph, then you better have every drawing right on, otherwise you see it like nobody's problem. But also the thing that you could do is like, just make the background not so light and dark. Just make one whole big thing back there so that it doesn't show all those lights and darks. And, but by keeping the hard edges on, I mean, let's say you want to keep the hard edges, then don't make all that pattern back there. Like, it'll be hard edged and make it low contrast, like you can make it just all light, like light greens, you know, and slightly lighter. And you can have hard edges. Hard edges, when you make them no contrast, they look like soft edges. So if you don't know how to do wet in the wet, then just follow the contrast.
I want to be there.
This is such a nice painting. And this is something he couldn't fix by what I had done to it. But this happens a lot when you're doing very tight and beautiful paint. It's really nice the way he had it, but I felt like the composition and the angles, the perspective were just hard. They were just like, they're bugging me. They're going up the hill and making this big, huge triangle in the front. And so I wanted to straighten it out by making it more like I was sitting over here in front of it a little bit more. And I also took away this whole side because I felt like you didn't need this area. Like this sign, this building. It's just, it's like so different, and everything was making my eye go over here. Like everything's pointed towards this area. And so I just brought that down, straightened out the perspective. And
How can you rotate this, the risers down up the building today?
what's that?
How can you rotate the risers up in the plaza without?
I'm really good with Photoshop.
Amazing.
He was asking me if I could ever do a class in that. It's hard. I mean, I've been using Photoshop since it was invented. I mean, ever since the first day we got our computer, I've been using Photoshop. So to something like this is just taking, and I'm bringing down, and I can stretch it. I can stretch it all around and stuff. So I can just look at it, what it would look like. I mean, I like his painting. His quality of painting is wonderful. I really like the quality and stuff. I just felt the drawing, and it's probably even right the way it is. I mean, I'm sure that's the way the photograph looked and everything is great with the thing, but I just felt that a different angle would make it look better, like you're in front of it instead of to the side of it. And also I felt there was too much to the left. And if you're going to put something in the center, put it in the center. And then it's formal composition. You know, you can put it in the center. There's no things that you can't put, especially something like this, put it in the center, that's fine. You don't always have to have everything formal or informal. You know, it could be informal, it could be formal composition. This is a formal composition when you have the thing smack in the center and you have the two things on the side kind of balanced. But and also the people, you know, in the front, this area right here is very empty. And so there's a lot, I'm looking at these people a lot. And so I'm thinking this whole area here, there's so much there and it's not important. And so I was like, I want to bring that down and get rid of them and focus more on the beam, you know, and these people are really important. So I'm just bringing them down.
That's amazing.
Now, the thing is, you can't do this on a regular sheet of paper. You have to redo this whole thing. So, but he could make prints of that way. So you can make prints of it, but you have to change. But then again, there's a critique. And so that's my feeling. And it's probably is fine. People would still buy this one. If you're not an artist and you know, when you're thinking about it, well, I'm thinking about it, but everybody would love that one too. You know, it really is. But people tend to always focus on what their photograph is. And again, it's about the beam. So think about it, how you place it and how you're putting things together, because it's about the beam. Some Beverly's. I really like this, and I have the other one. I hit it first. I'm going to talk about it first. So this is Beverly's, and I'm looking at, thinking, you know, what? There's nothing wrong with this at all. You know, it's beautiful. I mean, that is really, really beautiful. So what did I do? I made it darker, more contrast, and it didn't help it at all. And I'm thinking, you know, I'll just show you, but it doesn't matter what I done. I just darkened it, contrasted it a little bit more, but I like hers better. I like it a little lighter. I just tried it. And there's actually, it's just a really neat painting. Just a really neat painting. I loved everything of it. And so I was thinking, well, what do I do? I don't know. Maybe it's do it more contrasty if that'll help. And I don't think it did. Matter of fact, I think it made it too contrasting because I like the softness of the original. And so I thought I'd hide it to show you the original that I really like it and see what I did that wouldn't help it at all. So it's really nice. There's nothing I can say about it. It's just, I love all the detail too. But see, here's detail and it doesn't look like a photograph. It still looks like a painting. I like paintings that look like paintings. You know, I mean, some of the hyperrealism is pretty cool, like when they get really, really detailed. I'm amazed that I never do it. But I love this kind of work where it's just, there's a lot of work that went into this. And even Megan's was really, Megan, she had to go because her child was sick. So she, see, but yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Nice job, Beverly. I tried, but and here is another one, abstract, and it's back there. And knowing that this is an abstract, and now I'm looking at it, it does have so the picture doesn't look anything like the painting. And so I couldn't do anything to it because I'm thinking, I know this is not what it looks like. So I didn't do anything. I didn't, because I thought, I know this is, because it looks good up there, but I'm thinking, I know this is probably better than what it is. And look at, she has gold in there. And so there's nothing wrong with this. It's beautiful.
Should be online people that maybe they can see that one too.
Let me go to the online people here. Hold on one second. So here, I don't know if you can see this, but this is gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I knew looking at the photo and I thought, you know, I know this is nothing what it looks like. I almost predicted this one. And so I thought, well, I'm not gonna do anything because this is, I'm sure it's great. Because I like the composition. I like, you know, I actually really love the gold in there. You know, it's a really nice abstract. But then to show again, the difference. So when you're submitting your work to like a show, you've got to get a professional to, you know, to show that gold in there. You have to show that somehow. Otherwise, you know, you don't know. Because look at the glasses, so I can see the name.
Probably not enter that in a TWSA though, because of people.
No, she couldn't do it. AWS she could.
But you probably have to have a professional photographer photograph it.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. Doesn't have anything, doesn't look anything like it. There's no, I was gonna give it contrast. But I thought I'm not gonna give it contrast because I know it's more contrasty. I knew it right away. And actually, a lot of you guys sent me the picture where it was just laying there and had outer. So I cropped all in so that it would be, you know, right into the picture. And she sent me all the stuff on the outside. So I did do right to the edge, and I could tell. I've seen enough photos being online to tell that this was not anything like it looked like. It's really nice though. Lonnie's is here.
Is that it?
It is.
Right, go ahead.
I can leave it.
Sorry, Lonnie, I didn't like your purple flowers, and I love purple. Oh. And
Works in any direction.
I mean, I like, you know, it is, I'm always about light and dark. It's actually, you had a high contrast painting by having the whole background light. And I turned it around the opposite way. I just thought I wanted to see what it looked like darker and make the flowers light and red because of the butterfly. I wanted to see the butterfly kind of the same thing, so it can kind of not there. Again, this is very much a personal choice. It doesn't have anything to do with like right or wrong. It's just my choice. But I thought I'm gonna do better back and see. Again, I did a bunch of stuff and I'm thinking, you know, I kind of like it, but I didn't like the purple flowers. So I thought, what am I doing? which is really weird for me because I love purple. But it just seemed like a bunch of dots on there, I felt, and it didn't.
We get to the dimension on the flower.
Yeah. Darker background.
And I like shadows on things, especially white posts. I love shadows on white things. And so the posts were white. I thought, what a great place to put shadowing. And so if you even want to make it still with your purple flowers, then make the background darker, but you can just also put those shadows of the dark flowers on the post, on the shadows and stuff. And also make the post three-dimensional because it looks very flat, like make it a little bit darker on the side. You don't have to go as dark as I did. You know, I go crazy with the darkness. I was just having fun with it too, you know, get the point. And also I made more direct sunlight so that like look, the bench itself has a little shadow on the one side, so you can tell which is the side, shadow side, basically.
Right.
And when I did it because you had color flowers on the bottom. You had those color flowers on the bottom, and I like those. And so I'm like, well, why did you use those colors? You made an orange, a red, an orange, and a red. And so I like those flowers a lot. So I thought, I'm just gonna make them all that color. Again, that's not my personal choice. What she had was fine. I think a few things I was just talking about the edge of the fence and have the shadows on that. That's all you have to do is just put more shadow in the fence. Keep your flowers purple, that's fine. And then put the shadows on the white. Just put that. Okay, Carol, and I think you're out there, right, Carol? This is just another one for cropping.
Here's what. There's questions.
So Carol's, I like to draw, everything is great. Again, it's the cropping of the dog. Like when you go to frame this, that's the only thing I have to do on this one. Just crop it. You crop it into his leg a little bit because it looks like it's undone on the bottom. And you're putting it right on the edge of the painting. So crop up, go up into it. And also all that white space on top, you don't need that. Why do you need a big top spot? Just cut it down and make the dog's head the main center of interest, and the body can be blurred like it is. I didn't change anything about the dog. All I did was crop it, you know, and it makes it that much better a painting because now it's very clean looking. You don't have the bottom sitting right on the bottom of the edge of the painting. You never want to do that. You know, have the bottom sitting on the bottom of it. Though I shouldn't say never because this is somebody that maybe does something that where it is fine.
Yeah.
This is just a cropping. So just when you go to frame it, just go to those areas. It's really a nice dog too. A cute little dog. So Anita's is I'm not sure if you can tell what I did. Can you tell what I did? I didn't do very much. I did one thing. I just finished it for her. She missed. I just missed. I missed the darkening of the green. There is no. It's just like that's a great place to do a negative painting. I'm thinking, boy, she has a great chance to do negative painting of her light leaves by making them come forward. So I just darkened her green. And so they're dark. I just added more dark leaves into it, and then nothing else. Everything else was great. It's beautiful. I just felt like there's too many white lines. White lines around things flattens them. So by putting a dark inside the flower or the generium, what are these flowers? Geranium. I know it's a so the geraniums, I know they have the really dark green leaves underneath there and stuff. And so just get the dark in there and you're good. Because if she has white lines around a lot of the white flowers, red flowers, and around the greens, there's a lot of white. And that's okay in some spots where the light's hitting the top, but underneath, inside, it's dark in there. It's really, really dark in there. Beautiful texture, beautiful drawing, beautiful everything. Very simple change or additive. This one is really nice. It's back there. The Sam's you probably can't tell what I did to it, can you?
Oh, but it's, look how much progress there's.
It's been getting to your washes faster. It's being if you can tell, I try to simplify the washes and just make it look cleaner. 'Cause I know I could see that he spent a lot of time in areas. And Sam but a bunch of times in area, like when you're going in there and just doing a lot over small areas. Try to get some of the things a little bit thicker and wider, like the wet in the wet washes. When you want a soft edge, try to get that in one wash. Don't go back over and over. I think you go in and just really work it that area finely. But if you get some areas, especially the background, so what I did is I put a filter on it. And you can tell it simplified the areas because the waterfall in the background wouldn't be the same kind of look as the waterfall in the foreground. So you have all this texture back here. Why not make it simple? Simplify that texture so that it's just very simple. Let your eye come the texture up front and not have the same texture in the background as you do in the foreground. And same thing with the background here, this area, and you almost can't tell it at all. But if you went really close to the thing, you'd see that this is just, I simplified the texture so that the texture wasn't in the background. Just make that smoother so that sits back. Again, you can either do soft edge or light contrast, or don't put texture back there. You know, it's got to be simple back there. As you come forward, make it nice and you can make a texture in the front where you need the center of interest. And I'm not sure if you can tell there are two people in there. But see, they're not part of they're there, but they're not. And so they're not the kind of people that you would see really big as part of the center of interest. They almost don't exist in here, which is okay, because then it's more about the waterfall and they just happen to be there. Either you're going to make them really powerful that you see them, or like this, where you don't see them that much.
The row of rocks on the left looks unnatural to me. To me, I would just take them out and leave the bigger boulder.
Makes it off a little bit. It can be much bigger.
But once that's the way it was there, and then person wanted it. No, you're right. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah, you can, it's kind of flat on top, and maybe that's the way it was, and but you can do it, change it. I think Sam's got to work on the texture more. That's the most important thing. I think you need to work on trying to get things really fresh and clean in the background where they're not so much texture. And then as you come forward, then you put all the texture you want. It's all about dimension. And yeah, that is kind of a composition thing, but I don't think Sam's ready for a total composition. Like that you first have to learn how to do the main things about watercolor. And then after that, then you can keep on going. And the hardest part is composition and getting good pictures and changing things around.
I really want the waterfall, it's right in the front, because it really looks like a real waterfall.
No, it's nice. It's actually a nice painting. I don't mind it at all. Here's Susan's. So Susan's was hard to, she works very loose kind of and very simple. She simplifies things. And all I did, there was only one thing I thought, if you're going to put trees in there, why not make them your center of interest? Because there was no really center of interest. You did have the post in front, which normally I would never put in the, where is it? In the foreground. Running along the bottom here.
Yeah.
But it worked. I would never put a triangle in the corner, but it worked. So if something works and it doesn't bother me, then that worked fine. But
okay. It's a very big painting. I have it behind me. I couldn't get to it. It's 15 inches wide, 22 inches high. So it's really large.
okay.
So
Cool.
yeah,
But
I like your idea. Yeah, thanks.
the trees that you had in there, I'm not sure if you can tell in the beginning or the first one, there are trees
they're a bit
right
faint.
here.
Mhm.
And so if you're gonna put trees like that, then why not put them dark and make them really important? That's your center of interest.
Yeah, we'll do that. Great, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Mhm.
Very cool sky.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those paintings that improved by accident. It was all sort of mottled looking, and I just did a huge wash of Payne's gray, and it seemed to come out as it's a stormy sky over Iowa. We were in Iowa for spring break, and you could see skies like that everywhere. So it's kind of
Very
like,
nice.
yeah.
Put some trees in
atmosphere.
and you're good.
Oh, thank you. I'll put some trees in. Thank you. Mhm.
So Judy's, this is funny because I don't know if you know Sherry from Lake Geneva. She's in my Thursday class and she does the same thing. And it's kind of funny because it's a thing that I've always haven't liked a lot is little plants and flowers like this. And that's very much a personal thing. Little grasses and little flowers. So I just took them out. And you know what? They're both good. My personal choice is I don't like those little, and Sherry does it all the time. She puts in these little grasses. She has a beautiful scene and she put a few grasses in front. I'm like, why did you put the grasses in there? It looked good. It looked fine. Why did you have to put the grasses in there? I know because it'd probably be like that. There'd be grasses in there and there'd be flowers or on the sign. But I felt it took away from the church because then I'm looking at the sign and the sign already is something that you're going to see first anyways. You're going to see this sign and I'm glad you didn't put any writing that's really forcible that you can read because then you're really going to see that sign first because it's about the church. And so you want to see the church first. So I did this a couple of times and I put a bush in front of it. I couldn't think of anything else besides the flowers you put in there. But then I did the shadow a little bit. I thought throw the shadow a little bit farther. And really either way could work. The way you did it is fine. But I'm not into the little grasses. I'm not sure why.
Like the focal point, you know, you said little grasses.
Well, the grasses in the sign, you're gonna see first anyways, because but you had it so that you don't see the sign, you can't read the sign, which is good. Because otherwise you're gonna read it, unless it's for the church. And then you may want to make it like really sign in there so that if this is hanging in that church and it's like looking, then you want to put the sign in there and make it look like readable where it is. And then you can have the grasses in there because then it'll be about the sign. But then the background church. What's going on? Oh.
Like that, yeah.
Okay.
Put the dot in my opinion.
Here we go. I mean, Judy is a professional at soft edges. When you want to see soft edges, wet in the wet, she's an expert at it. She's done backgrounds and beautiful. But it's so funny because that's the only thing I don't like about this painting is those grasses. And I didn't know what to do to change it because I tried different things. Like I said, I put the bush that's over here. I put one of that in front of it, but that didn't work. So I changed it and I said, what else can I do? That's the thing I could find out. And that's probably not even right either.
My eye is pulled right away to the front of the church.
Yeah.
Contrast of the green and the contrast of values. So.
With the grasses or without the grasses? With the grasses, okay.
Yeah.
Because it repeats the red of the door.
That's what I was thinking.
So maybe more geraniums in the. Put some geraniums in there. Take the geraniums from what's her name's. It does need something. I don't like what I kind of did, but you have to have something. The red is a good idea, though. So geranium. So that's what I'm gonna put in the next geranium. And we'll put it in the next newsletter. All right, onward.
Before you go, if there was a little gradation in the door, I think it would help it quite a bit. Or it would be darker near the top and then a little lighter and it came down. And then in the sky, if there were different colors, they're all the same. There's a little bit in the back corner of the church where it changes, but it would drastically change some of the colors in the background.
That's a personal. That's all, like my personal grasses. It's a really nice painting. It's all personal type of thing. It's all personal. Same thing with this one. Chris's, the same thing. It really is a nice painting. I just grounded the trees with some shadow underneath them. It's more of an abstract over here. and that's fine. All I did was put a little bit of shadow underneath which I'm assuming is trees. So I just did that and that's all. I liked it a lot. I just felt like, and again, that's a personal thing. I just thought it needed it needs some reality, even in an abstract, it's neat to have an area that's a little bit different. And by putting the shadow, dark shadow underneath there, it makes it different from the rest of the painting so that looks different from other parts. So it just grounds it, makes it look like an abstract landscape. Really nice too. I like this one a lot. Small changes, and again, even if she didn't do that, it would still look nice. I mean, it's still nice. Angie's been working on this one the last 3 weeks in my class. And well, I spent a lot of time on this one too, because I spent a lot of time on changing things, putting it back, changing it, putting it back, changing, putting it back. Because we've talked about it in class for like, I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks now. And I finally decided that the only thing I needed was darkening the bottom part background. More contrast, because everything looks the same. There's no dimension. And so I just put the bottom part darker and left it at that. I tried everything on this one. So nothing else is gonna work, let me tell you. I tried every single thing I could possibly think of to make this different. I made some of the flowers bigger, a little smaller. Nothing worked except for then finally putting the background on the bottom a little bit darker than the top so that it gives dimension. Because I like the arrangements of the flowers, they're fine. And I even thought about taking out the leaf in the top, but I did that, it didn't look right. It was empty. And so I left the leaf in the top. So that's the only thing I could do for this. So darken the background. And she's doing a great job with I like the texture and very nice. That was a hard one, boy. I was and this one, I just thought I put fins on them because I kind of I've seen a lot of these fish prints type of thing, and I see them a lot in Minocqua, and I just like all his fins were collapsed into him, and so it's just like a simple. I thought, why not show those? Pull them up. Again, that's a personal thing. Maybe the one is a little bit too high, the top one, but I just felt it gave it a little. I like the whole idea of everything. I just felt it was like too rounded on the top. Like it was too, I like to see that interrupted a little bit. So I interrupted with his fins. Nothing else. I think everything else is great. And even if you left it like that, it'd be fine. Though the top fin, if you're not going to go as high as I did, maybe just a little bit more. Just a little bit more so you can see the fins a little bit more.
Is the background water? What is it? Is the reflections of water playing? It's a net. The fish is in the net.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I got
No. I thought it was just an abstract design, and that's all I think it had to be. It has to be. I thought it was some kind of abstractive tile work or something. But that to me didn't matter. It didn't matter what that was. Okay, it really doesn't matter what that is. It's neat looking. I like it. The fact that you did every one of those little spots, that's a lot of work. And then now that I look at it, I think that the fin I put on him is too much like a shark fin. So I would make it not quite as big as that. Jeans. It's just like Catherine's. There was not much I could do to this one. This was pretty. I just cleaned up the flower, the main flower a little bit. Like this main flower I thought was a little bit messy. I thought this flower right here, which is your main flower, that's your center of interest. That's the one you're gonna look at first. So I just cleaned it up a little bit. You can do that just by cleaning it up and making it the flower you want to see first. Because the other ones are also clean, and then that one seemed like it was worked on a little bit longer than the other ones. And so I felt like that needs to be up a little bit. That's the hero. That's the hero flower. So make the hero flower, by putting it darker behind it, make it the hero, the center of interest. But very well done, though. It's really nice. This is something, again, I had to do something, so I could figure out. So when it's just something, it could stand alone just the way it is. This one, I just felt needed a more of a contrast in the background. And not that fact that what I did there was right. I'm not sure what's back there, but I just felt it needed a pattern of dark and light, because on the left, you have all your darks in a part that you don't want to see. You want to see the trunk of the tree first before anything else. Now, so that's your center of interest then, because you almost barely can't see the flamingo, pelican, whatever they are.
The roseate spoonbill. This is
Okay.
Carrie. It's the roseate spoonbill. They're on the
Okay,
coast of
thanks.
Florida.
And yeah, I kind of did the bottom part too fast because I don't think that's too dark. I got rid of that when I didn't want to get rid of that, but I couldn't go back. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll have to explain that. But I do like the bottom part. I wanted to see what it was like if I darkened the reflections from the background. And I didn't have a background to put in there, so I just made it simple, but you could put a darker background in there, like a watercolor wash, because it doesn't look like a watercolor wash, right? It just looks like I spray painted it.
Yeah, right.
So, but you'd have to put something back there. I think that's darker, so that pops those spoon bill. Because now it's about them. Now it's about them, and you want about as dark as the branch they're sitting on, because that branch they're sitting on is the most important part, because it's got the hardest edges, got the most contrast, got the most color. And so you want to direct it toward the birds. And so by making a dark background, makes them come forward. And that's a simple fix. I mean, you just go do the background, wet it, and just put it in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tom's, where's Tom's? Where's your paint? You gotta see it. I saw you have room for doing the fix. Remember we just talked about, what was it, Carol's dog, where you lay the things on the bottom of the page.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So I think it was too close to the bottom of the page. So when you frame it, now you're gonna have another 1/4 inch away from that bottom part. So when you frame it, guys right there, bring it all the way down. Bring that foreground in there, because you frame that, you're gonna have a little white line right on the edge of the paper. And this is a beautiful painting. I didn't do anything else except for added some of the thing, and you can do that, so because you got a bunch of paper down there. Because doesn't this look better? Having this much down there,
Yeah.
cutting it really short, so bring it down. Now, the problem is, you had a frame for this already. And actually, you can cut into the trees if you want, but I wouldn't cut into trees either. Like, just what you did on the top is fine. But you need more on the bottom. Don't cut it there. You cut it there, that's too little. It needs weight. That has a lot of weight on top. And just, you can see, I added a little bit more. It just brings it up, gives it a little bit more air. And also, by putting a line in there, you get too much of a little strip line. You know, it doesn't look as if you have, and also put that shadow in there. So make it like you have shadows in the bottom. Don't just make it one wash all the way across, do like you did, but just give me more. Okay. And actually, you have it. You already did it, but you cropped it in the photograph. You cropped it down. Don't do that. Okay. Don't crop into that. What color green did you use? Yes.
I think it was sap green. I mixed some for the foreground. I mixed a raw sienna and cobalt blue.
You can almost leave it like this and just leave it white there too.
Yeah.
Just leave it right like that, just cut it down to here. Leave it white even, I don't care.
Should that steeple either go above or below it?
Well, it's not in the photo, yeah, you're right, in the photograph too.
Changed it since the original, the light green tree with the dark shadow behind it. To me, now that it's too contrasting, because you're going from, it's like, yeah. So, and the shadow needs to be under.
Oh, this one here?
It's changed it.
Hey, what are you doing?
What about any shadows, what about any shadows across the ground, the building or the trees?
No, just leave it there. I mean, it's really, I think everything's fine. You do have it in here, but even that doesn't bother me that much, but it is a little bit contrarier than that. Yeah, there it's like just nothing. That's good. And you don't want to go back to that, but just leave it as is, just add yourself a little gum. Well, up there, it looks great. What you're seeing online, that's really nice. Just add the bottom. Very, very skilled, very nicely done. Why? I know Lean is online, but she's probably not here anymore, so she maybe can't get in. But Arlene did this picture. She did, I think this is a second attempt, and she left the light and she wasn't finished. There's a railing in front of this too that she's gonna put in. And I just told her she needs the shadow, and she works really light, and so I think she needs to put shadow on there so it makes it look like the foreground is your dark and your background is your light. You need to have a light and dark pattern. You know, because on the left, there is no pattern. It's all light except for the floor and the chair. And that's not enough. That doesn't fit the whole painting. So the curtain is great. The fact that you can darken that and then make it, you know, with the shadow. And I didn't do the right colors. She can make it more nice with the watercolor. I'm not working with watercolor. I'm working with the airbrush basically in Photoshop. So I can't make it look like a water. I could, but that take forever. It's a bit of time. But just some shadowing, and I think she's still gonna put the dark railing in there. There's like a black railing in front, which I think will be great. Because otherwise you're gonna dip right into the ocean. Here is our newcomer, Mark. Our new two. Mark. And once I tell you this, you're never gonna unsee this. And I didn't do it. I didn't think because it's beautiful. I mean, it's an amazing painting. And this is only a personal thing, but do you see the gorilla?
Yeah.
You see the gorilla head? Once I saw that, I cannot unsee the gorilla. That's all I see. When I see him, I see the nose, I see his mouth. And I wasn't gonna change it because I think I like that. I think I like the fact that this is Gorilla Mountain. And in Tahoe, the Gorilla Mountain. But now the ability of your watercolor ability is phenomenal. I mean, this is a really beautiful painting. Really gorgeous, but I kept on thinking, boy, I wonder if that's like the way it actually looks like a gorilla, or were you intending it to look like a gorilla? But that's all I see now. I cannot, every time I look at it, I cannot, that's all I see. But that maybe that's it, yeah. And something like that, you know, I guess it could be a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on what you think, you know, and maybe like if I were to name this, it'd be like Gorilla Mountain. And then when I make a big story up about it, yeah, many years ago, they found this Gorilla Mountain and they named it Gorilla Mountain because of the gorilla. Beautiful technique, though. I mean, it's just gorgeous, gorgeous painting. And we're gonna end with Sue's. Though Maureen had one, I didn't get your email. So Sue's is the last one. And same thing with Sue's. It is so well done that I didn't change it. It came in last night, and so I was looking at it and I kept on thinking, what should I change to this? I go, there's nothing to change. This thing's beautiful. It's a great scene, you know. I was thinking, should I put a person in there? But it's like, well, you don't have to put persons in there to make things look good. The quality of your watercolor and putting it down, and soft edges in the back, hard edges in the front, your center of interest, colors, green and red complements. It's nice. There's nothing. I thought, nah, I don't have to. Kept it really easy for me. I didn't do anything. It worked out well. And would you change anything on that? I don't think so. Yeah. You see anything that you would critique on it?
Austin found edge on the top where the light bushes are. Upper left kind of.
Upper left.
Yeah, maybe soften the edges in places.
On the bushes.
Went on here. Huh. You could or couldn't, that wouldn't change too much of anything. I was thinking maybe an Indian coming out of this little thing here.
Or the gorilla.
Or the gorilla. The gorilla. Set, watch.
That is nicely done.
That was very nice. Or maybe some wildflowers in the front, maybe some added color that's geranium or red geraniums. Red geraniums right over here. I mean, that could work if you put like little flowers in this field right here on the top of here, a little red. But really, it doesn't need it. I mean, that's all personal. That's not going to help her make it different. It'll just make it different. But other than that, well, that's it, guys. Let me stop the video here.